Welcome back to the channel. For decades, the American middle class was seen as the bedrock of the nation, a symbol of opportunity, stability, and upward mobility. It represented the achievable dream for millions: a steady job, a home, a car, a comfortable retirement, and a chance for your children to do even better. But today, that bedrock feels like it's eroding. We're here to talk about an unseen crisis, a silent, persistent shift that's reshaping the very fabric of American society: the shrinking middle class. Today, we're diving deep into the unseen crisis, America's shrinking middle class, and what's next. We'll explore the complex forces driving this decline, the profound impacts it's having on individuals and communities, and what it might mean for the future of the American dream. This isn't just about statistics. It's about lives, aspirations, and the fundamental promise of opportunity. To truly understand the current crisis, we need to go back in time. The concept of the middle class isn't fixed, it's evolved. Post-World War II, America experienced an unprecedented economic boom. Manufacturing thrived, unions were strong, and a single earner could often support a family comfortably. This era, from roughly the 1950s to the 1970s, is often considered the golden age of the American middle class. Income growth was broadly shared, and there was a clear path to prosperity for many. But what is the middle class? Definitions vary, but generally, it refers to households with incomes falling between 67% and 200% of the national median income. Pew Research Center, a leading authority on this, often defines it as households earning between two-thirds and double the median household income. By this measure, the share of American adults living in middle-income households has steadily declined from 61% in 1971 to 50% in 2021. That's a significant drop, meaning fewer Americans are part of that traditional economic center. Where did they go? They've largely moved to the extremes, some upward into the upper-income tier, but a larger share has slipped into the lower-income bracket. This isn't just a statistical blip. It's a fundamental shift in the nation's economic landscape. So, what's driving this seismic shift? It's not a single factor, but a confluence of powerful, interconnected forces that have been at play for decades. 1. Wage stagnation versus soaring costs, the squeeze. Perhaps the most direct pressure on the middle class is the ever-widening gap between stagnant wages and skyrocketing costs of living. For decades, productivity in the U.S. has soared, but the benefits have disproportionately gone to the top. From 1979 to 2018, net productivity rose 69.3%, while typical workers' compensation grew by just 11.6%. This means workers are producing more, but their paychecks aren't reflecting that increase. Meanwhile, the costs of essential middle-class benchmarks have exploded. Housing. A recent study by the National Association of Realtors showed the median home price in the U.S. jumped by over 30% from 2020 to 2022 alone. This makes homeownership, a cornerstone of middle-class wealth, increasingly out of reach. Healthcare. The average family health insurance premium has surged by over 50% in the last decade, far outpacing wage growth. Deductibles have also risen dramatically, turning affordable plans into financial traps during emergencies. Education. Tuition at public four-year universities has increased by over 200% since 1980, while median family income only rose by about 150%. This creates a crushing student debt burden that delays wealth accumulation for younger generations. This creates a relentless middle-class squeeze, where families earn enough to disqualify them from public assistance, but not enough to comfortably afford the essentials of modern life. Globalization and automation, the hollowing out effect. The American economy has undergone a massive transformation. The rise of globalization has seen manufacturing jobs, once a reliable pathway to the middle class, outsourced to countries with lower labor costs. We've lost millions of these well-paying, often unionized, positions. Simultaneously, automation has accelerated, with robots and AI taking over routine tasks, from factory floors to customer service centers. This phenomenon creates a hollowing out effect in the job market. High-skill, high-pay jobs, e.g., tech, specialized services continue to grow and thrive. Low-skill, low-pay jobs, e.g., service industry, retail, also see growth, but with limited upward mobility. Middle-skill, middle-pay jobs, e.g., administrative support, traditional manufacturing, are the ones being most impacted, leading to workers either needing to reskill for higher-paying jobs or sliding into lower-paying ones. This often means underemployment for those who once earned a comfortable wage. Declining union membership and bargaining power. The strength of labor unions historically played a crucial role in securing better wages, benefits, and working conditions for American workers, particularly in the manufacturing sector. However, union membership in the private sector has sharply declined from over 35% in the 1950s to just 6% today. This erosion of collective bargaining power has weakened workers' ability to demand a fairer share of productivity gains, contributing directly to wage stagnation for many. Tax policy shifts and wealth inequality. Over several decades, changes in tax policy have often favored capital gains and high-income earners. Tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations, alongside less progressive tax structures, have contributed to a growing concentration of wealth at the very top. While the wealthy have seen their net worth soar, the middle class has seen modest gains, or even stagnation. This ever-widening gap in wealth accumulation makes it harder for middle-income families to build intergenerational wealth, invest, or simply maintain their economic standing. The debt trap, student loans, credit cards, and mortgages. As wages stagnate and costs rise, many middle-income families have increasingly relied on debt to maintain their standard of living or to invest in what were once pathways to upward mobility, like education or homeownership. Student loan debt has surpassed $1.7 trillion, crippling young adults' ability to save, invest, or buy homes. Credit card debt has reached record highs, as families use it to bridge the gap between income and expenses. While homeownership remains a goal, the rising cost of mortgages, due to higher interest rates and home prices, means a larger portion of income is consumed by housing payments, leaving less for other necessities or savings. This reliance on debt creates a precarious financial situation, making families more vulnerable to economic shocks. The shrinking middle class isn't just an abstract economic problem. It has profound, tangible consequences that ripple through society, impacting individuals, communities, and the very fabric of American democracy. Increased economic insecurity and stress. For families straddling the line between lower and middle income, the constant struggle to afford basic necessities like childcare, healthy food, and reliable transportation generates immense stress. Financial precarity becomes a daily reality. One unexpected medical bill, a car breakdown, or a job loss can send a family spiraling into poverty. This pervasive insecurity affects mental health, family stability, and overall well-being. The traditional safety net of the middle class, once robust enough to absorb minor shocks, is now frayed. Erosion of the American dream. The core tenet of the American dream, that hard work and perseverance lead to a better life, and that your children will do better than you, is being challenged. For many, especially younger generations, the path to homeownership, stable employment with good benefits, and a secure retirement feels increasingly unattainable. This erodes optimism and fosters a sense of disillusionment about the future. When the dream becomes a mirage, it impacts national morale and social cohesion. Impact on consumer spending and economic growth. The middle class has always been the engine of consumer spending, driving a significant portion of the U.S. economy. When the middle class shrinks and its purchasing power diminishes, it can lead to slower economic growth. Businesses face reduced demand, leading to less investment, fewer jobs, and a downward spiral. A country where most people are struggling to make ends meet is not a country that can sustain robust economic expansion. Social and political polarization. Economic inequality often fuels social and political divisions. When a large segment of the population feels left behind, it can breed resentment, distrust in institutions, and a search for scapegoats. This can manifest as increased political polarization, with people gravitating towards extreme ideologies that promise solutions to their economic woes. It can also lead to a decline in social cohesion as the shared experiences that once defined the middle class become rarer. The decline of the middle class is a fertile ground for populism and division. Decline in upward mobility. The middle class historically served as a crucial ladder for those in lower income brackets to climb upwards. As the middle class shrinks, that ladder becomes shorter and harder to reach. Upward mobility is declining in the U.S. compared to many other developed nations. This means that even if individuals work hard, their chances of moving significantly up the economic ladder are diminishing, threatening the foundational American belief in meritocracy. Addressing the shrinking middle class is not a simple task, and there are vigorous debates about the best path forward. However, many experts and policymakers point to several key areas for potential intervention and change. 1. Strengthening the social safety net and worker protections. A crucial step involves reinforcing policies that support workers and families. This could include increasing the minimum wage to a living wage, ensuring even entry-level jobs provide a sustainable income, expanding access to affordable health care, and addressing the rising costs of prescription drugs. Investing in affordable childcare, which is a massive financial burden for many middle-income families, often equaling or exceeding housing costs. Revitalizing labor unions and protecting workers' right to organize and collectively bargain, which could help ensure wages keep pace with productivity. Investment in education and skills training. To combat the hollowing out effect of automation and globalization, there's a strong push for accessible and affordable higher education, including vocational training and community college programs, to equip workers with the skills needed for future jobs. Lifelong learning initiatives and retraining programs that help displaced workers transition into new industries. Focusing on STEM education and critical thinking skills from an early age to prepare future generations for a rapidly evolving economy. Reforming tax and economic policies. Many economists argue for policy changes that promote more equitable wealth distribution and reduce the burden on middle and lower incomes. This could include reforming tax codes to ensure the wealthiest individuals and corporations pay their fair share, potentially through higher top marginal rates or capital gains taxes. Investing in infrastructure, roads, bridges, broadband internet, to create jobs and boost productivity. Promoting competition and regulating monopolistic practices to prevent companies from exploiting consumers and workers. Fostering a culture of shared prosperity. Beyond specific policies, there's a broader cultural shift needed, a renewed commitment to the idea that economic growth should benefit all segments of society, not just a select few. This involves encouraging corporate responsibility and ethical business practices, promoting financial literacy and sound financial planning for individuals, reevaluating the metrics of economic success to focus not just on GDP growth, but also on median income growth, wealth distribution, and overall well-being. The shrinking of the American middle class is a monumental challenge, one that threatens the very foundations of economic stability, social cohesion, and the promise of a better future. It's a crisis that has unfolded gradually, often unnoticed in the daily grind, but its impacts are now undeniable. There is no single, easy fix, but rather a complex web of interconnected solutions that require sustained effort, political will, and a shared commitment to building a more equitable and prosperous society. The future of the American dream, and indeed the strength of the nation, hinges on our ability to reverse this trend and ensure that the middle class once again thrives as the vibrant heart of America. What do you believe is the most critical factor in the shrinking middle class? And what solutions do you think are most effective? Share your insights and experiences in the comments below. If you found this in-depth analysis valuable, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content on critical global and national issues, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you for watching.